The lights go out, not just in your home or your street, but across an entire continent. 15 seconds into this story, and everything you rely on to stay alive vanishes. No furnace hums, no hot water runs, no electricity hums behind the walls. Only silence, heavy and suffocating, presses against your skin. Now transport yourself to Europe in the winter of 1944. London's gasworks lie in ruins from relentless bombing. Hamburg's power grid has collapsed. Warsaw waits for coal shipments that will never arrive. The war did not just destroy cities, it erased heat itself. In a diary entry dated December 1943, a woman in Warsaw wrote, "We slept pressed together, yet still we shivered." Thousands echoed her fear. Hypothermia became the unseen enemy, slipping through broken windows and fractured walls. Civil defence reports from across the continent estimated that in certain regions, nearly 40% of winter civilian deaths were caused not by bullets or bombs, but by cold that refused to release its grip. Tonight, on The Hard Past, we confront that quiet, patient threat. Humanity was fighting something far older than armies, a cold that could freeze entire nations, and a people who would respond with ingenuity born from necessity. If you appreciate historical survival stories, hit like, share, comment, and subscribe now, because this story is not just about history. It's about human endurance. To understand the heater itself, we must first understand the war that made it necessary. This was not merely a clash of soldiers and armies, but a coordinated assault on energy. Strategic bombing campaigns did not only destroy factories or airfields, they targeted coal depots, fuel refineries, and the railway lines that carried winter supplies. Every bomb meant another community sinking deeper into the cold. A 1942 report from the UK Home Intelligence Service summed it up bluntly. Fuel shortage is the silent killer. Once coal disappeared, homes became iceboxes. Windows rattled in the wind. Buildings damaged by blasts could no longer trap heat. Mortality curves rose sharply each winter, not from frontline fighting, but from the collapse of the thermal infrastructure civilians depended on. Entire neighbourhoods froze in silence, while families burned furniture for warmth. Understanding the scale of this thermal war is essential, because only then can we grasp why ordinary people were compelled to create something extraordinary, an improvised heater that turned scrap tin into a life-saving device. The invention itself is remarkable. Later called the tin can heater, the survival heat candle, or, in some regions, the forbidden wax stove. This device was born in kitchens, basements and battered workshops by civilians who refused to freeze. No government designed it, no military corps tested it, no official publication introduced it. When you compare it to the heating tools of the era, well, German soldiers carried these compact Esbit tablets, Americans used sterno gel fuel, and Canadians experimented with early buddy burners. All of these were official products, designed for controlled military use. But this heater, it came from nothing more than tin cans, strips of cardboard, leftover candle wax or tallow, and, honestly, sheer necessity. What emerged was neither candle nor stove, but a small, radiant engine of survival. It was simple enough to build by hand, yet capable of shifting the temperature of a sealed room. It really represented grassroots engineering at its purest, born from necessity, perfected through trial and error, and carried through the darkest nights of the war. The physics behind its effectiveness is, well, deceptively simple. A tin can stuffed with wax-soaked cardboard might seem crude, but it actually relies on three key principles of heat transfer. First, radiant lateral heat. Unlike a normal candle, the tin can spreads warmth across its surface, sending it sideways into the room rather than just upward into wasted air. Second, conduction heat from the flame travels directly into the metal can, which acts as a sort of low-level radiator. And third, thermal mass. When a clay pot or metal bucket is placed over the can, it absorbs heat and releases it slowly, a bit like a miniature masonry stove. Paraffin wax has an energy density of roughly 9,000 to 10,000 BTU per kilogram. Charred cardboard forms a glowing carbon bed, sustaining the flame over hours. Ordinary civilians may never have heard of thermodynamics, yet they grasped its principles instinctively through survival. What makes the tin can heater even more remarkable is the consistency of its design across continents. The 3-to-1 ratio of wax to core material appears repeatedly in British wartime pamphlets, Scandinavian civil defence records, Eastern European partisan notes, and Canadian scouting manuals. 4 different regions arrived at the same formula independently. Scarcity and necessity created a reproducible, highly effective device without laboratories or institutions, a field-tested survival tool born entirely from lived experience. Historical records confirm its impact. Families in London air raid shelters, Norwegian fishermen in fjord cabins, Warsaw residents in bombed basements, and Soviet soldiers in freezing trenches all relied on variations of the heater. Small flames, amplified by clay or iron covers, produced gentle, room-wide warmth that could stave off frostbite and, honestly, even death. But the device was not without danger. Carbon monoxide hazards led authorities to discourage its use in sealed shelters. What saved lives in drafty homes could become lethal in airtight bunkers, creating a contradictory reputation for a device both celebrated and, well, feared. The tin can heater evolved as people experimented. Adding a pinch of salt reduced soot, pine resin extended burn time, different wicks stabilized flames, and metal reflectors directed warmth further into rooms. These improvisations were passed quietly, demonstrating how survival technology adapts under pressure. You know? The heater we recognize today is, well, really a family of designs shaped by thousands of people under extreme conditions, a lesson in resilience, ingenuity, and, applied physics. Its relevance today is striking. From Texas in 2021 to Japan in 1981, modern infrastructure has failed in brutal winters, and people survive by rediscovering low-tech heat strategies similar to those of wartime Europe. Centralized systems, make us comfortable, but honestly, fragile. The tin can heater teaches a lesson still vital. Survival depends not on the size of the flame, but on understanding and adaptability. The tin can heater was never merely a device. It was a mindset. Ordinary people facing lethal cold applied intuition and observation to harness heat from simple materials. Survival is transferable knowledge, the ability to adapt and innovate when systems fail. It is not the fire itself that saves us. It is the mind that knows how to make it. When the world goes cold again, whether through storms, war, or failures in technology, the lessons of 1944 become instructions. History is not a museum. It is a manual, written by those who endured nights so cold that their breath froze indoors, yet still kept their families alive. Their tools were humble, their materials ordinary, but their ingenuity profound. Survival belongs not to the strongest, but to those who understand how to think, adapt, and create warmth out of scarcity. If you want to carry that knowledge forward, subscribe, share, and comment below. The past may be hard, but its lessons are the warmest things we have.